We are in room 1010. I'm going to get started because this is a complex conversation we're going to have today. We'll be joined by other members in just a minute. I would like for the clerk to read the item, and then let's get folks up here to start the discussion.
Morning, John White, City Clerk. Item 1, Planning Department to present our verbal report and overview of the draft EIR for the Convention and Event Center project.
All right. Who would like to present? First from the city staff.
Hi, John Foreman with Los Angeles Department of City Planning, and I've brought with me two of our environmental staff, Aaron Strlich on my left and Diana Kitching on my right. And both of them worked diligently on the draft EIR. There were two other staff members, Adam Villani and Srimal Hewawithrana, who are not here today, but also worked on reviewing the draft EIR. Yeah, I'll proceed. And we have some handouts that are being printed up and are on their way up, so you can look at these when you get them. But just a brief overview. The notice of preparation and scoping period for the draft EIR went out in March 17th and circulated until April 18th. That's 32 days. The scoping meeting, which is typical to hold for an EIR with regional significance, happened on March 30th from 4 to 8 p.m., 4-hour hearing or meeting. The draft EIR circulation period was for 45 days from April 5th to May 21st. The informational workshop, which was required by SB 292, happened on April 9th, and that was from 5 to 8 p.m. And approximately how many people did we have show up, Diana?
Make sure to speak into the mic so everybody can hear you.
We had about 200 people show up at the, or about 300 people.
At the public hearing.
At the hearing that we held.
Okay. And the public hearing was May 16th from 4 to 7 p.m. That was 7 hours. And the public hearing that we held on the draft EIR was, again, another requirement of the SB 292 legislation. The city does not typically hold public hearings on draft EIRs. We get into that later when we're holding the hearings required by the municipal code. Let's see. Just real quickly.
For the record, Mr. Labange is present.
Okay. The less than significant impacts and with implementation of mitigation measures we found were land use, parking, pedestrian safety, natural light, climate change, geology and soils, archaeological resources, surface water hydrology, surface water quality, groundwater levels, groundwater quality, police protection, fire protection, water, wastewater, electricity, natural gas, solid waste, and environmental safety. Potentially significant environmental impacts described in the draft EIR are for traffic, visual quality, views, artificial light and glare, noise, air quality, and historic resources. I also just wanted to take this opportunity to let the committee know that again, we started the circulation period in March of last year, and the draft EIR came out in March of this year. So we worked on the EIR for a year, but in that time, the same staff that you see here and the two that I mentioned who are not here also took in and began work on EIRs for 10,000 Santa Monica, the Hollywood Millennium Project, the Century City Center Project, Sunset Bronson Studios, Paramount Pictures, and Archer School campus, among with several others. The department released draft EIRs during this period for the Century Plaza Hotel redevelopment. We released the draft EIR for 10,000 Santa Monica, the Village at Westfield Topanga, and the Boyle Heights Mixed Use Project, and the Barlow Hospital Project. The department also released during the last year while reviewing the EIR for Farmers Field, the Forest Lawn EIR, final EIR, the 10,000 Santa Monica final EIR, the Village at Westfield Topanga final EIR, and the Eula Boys School EIR. So it's been a busy last year in the planning department, and just wanted to publicly thank the staff for giving up their Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's to be on standby to move these projects forward.
Thank you very much, and I also, Mr. Reyes is here and Mr. Rosendahl is here. I appreciate the effort that the staff has put in and recognizing that this is an enormous document that focuses on everything from transportation to public safety to signage to design. And I've got a couple of, I have a number of questions. I'll give them to you one at a time so it's a little easier. Can you provide context of how large this environmental impact report is compared to other projects of similar magnitude?
Again, John Foreman Planning. That's something that we looked at because we received requests to extend the comment period beyond the city's 45 days, which is required under CEQA. And one of the reasons we were getting the requests because this was quoted in the press as being a 10,000-page draft EIR. In reality, the draft EIR was 1,750 pages with 9,300 pages of technical appendices. And a lot of those were charts just filled with numbers from the modeling that was done for the traffic analysis. So just to give a comparison, the Westfield, the Village at Westfield Topanga that was just considered in council a couple of months ago, that draft EIR was 1,750 pages. And the draft EIR for the NBC Universal project, which the department is working on at this time, was 2,516 pages. So again, the Convention Center EIR had 1,750 pages in the draft EIR itself, not counting technical appendices. So that was right in line with what a CEQA document is in the state today.
Let me switch over to talking about the new hall, the event center. Now, the new hall is proposed to be Gold LEED certified, and the event center will utilize cutting-edge methods to reduce energy and water consumption. If you could talk to me a little bit about that, and also talk about the waste plan for the new hall and the event center, and how the plans for diverting the waste can be ensured that we're using the most aggressive recycling techniques to date.
Again, John Foreman, I'm going to have Aaron speak to those questions.
Okay. Just pull the mic up so it's a little noisy.
My name is Erin Strelich, EIR unit. Okay. Overall, the EIR, while we were working on it, a lot of the design details had yet to be worked out while we were working on the project. So the DEIR does emphasize performance metrics and regulatory compliance rather than providing a lot of specific exact technologies that are going to be used, materials and practices that will be used. The new hall is going to use, and the event center too, will also use existing programs and existing sustainability measures that they are already utilizing. For the new hall, for instance, water use, they are pledging to reduce the water use by 33% through, including the following methods: low-flow toilets, waterless, or low-flow urinal fixtures, drought-tolerant plants, efficient irrigation systems. These have not been specified further at this point. Energy use at the new hall, they're going to comply with the 2010 Green Building Code, as well as implement additional measures to achieve a greater than 20% reduction in energy consumption relative to the standard California baseline. They are going to do that partially through demand control ventilation and the HVAC systems. Refrigerants and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment will have low GHG emission rates. the event center water use, they are pledging to reduce by 35% compared to the baseline. They are pledging to install the best available technology for water fixtures and equipment. They are using artificial turf for the field surface. They're going to do a comprehensive employee education program as well on other efficiency measures through the operation. For their energy use, they are pledging greater than 14% from an estimated baseline reduction. And again, that is not really detailed, but they pledge to install the best available technology available for HVAC, lighting, all major electrical appliances, and control systems. The LA Way Live Way Garage is also going to be equipped with solar panels, which are going to replace the existing solar panels that are on the roof currently of the Cherry Street Garage. In terms of waste reduction, both will achieve at least 50% solid waste diversion for both construction and operation. The new hall goes a little bit beyond what the event center pledges. The new hall pledges to divert 75% construction demolition debris and 50% of its operational solid waste, whereas the event center pledges to divert just 50% of its solid waste during construction and then 50% during operation as well. To do that, they propose preparing a construction waste management plan for the new hall that will further outline the exact steps and how they're going to achieve that 75% waste reduction goal. And they're also going to expand existing programs for their operation side that include biodegradable, compostable serviceware, a food waste diversion program, and those two also are existing programs at LA Live and will be carried over and expanded to the event center as well. So they will have a front of house composting program at the event center that includes that biodegradable concessions, packaging, and biodegradable compostable serviceware, the food waste diversion, employee education programs, donation of durable goods. And beyond that, a lot more detail has yet to be fleshed out in further plans.
If we could switch gears and talk about traffic mitigations proposed and whether they comply with Senate Bill 292. And if you could also highlight the differences between SB 292 and CEQA, and if there are any timing issues that are sensitive.
Okay. John Foreman, City Planning. Fortunately, LADOT is not here, was not able to attend this morning. But what I can tell you is SB 290, well, with CEQA, there are no specific requirements or mitigations for traffic. When a project comes in, it's looked at to see will traffic be an issue with this particular project, and this being Los Angeles, it usually is. But that's not a specific requirement or discussion under CEQA other than you look at it to see if there will be impacts. SB 292 did place some requirements, but it did not necessarily spell out specific mitigation measures. It talked about looking at imposing additional conditions on the project on the football stadium once it's up and running. So at this point, the draft DIR looks at this as it would with any project, and LADOT worked with the traffic consultant, Gibson, and the planning department, the applicant, and the MTA, and proposed financial contributions to Metro, providing bike parking spaces, providing a bike valet program, contributing to the Bicycle Master Plan Fund, and physical improvements to intersections in the freeways. It looked at contributing to a mobility hub, contributing to express park system, and continued coordination with Metro and Caltrans. Other elements that will be looked at for trip reduction include shuttles from remote parking, bicycle amenities, rideshare matching, administrative support for formation of carpools and vans, expanding light rail trains, providing charter bus service, and bundling transit passes with tickets. There's a lot of discussion right now about future technologies that are being developed by MTA so that people attending games can receive a transit pass as part of their package bundled together. There's also talk of developing an app so that when somebody gets tickets to a football game, they can use that app to find where their parking will be. So we looked at this as we would any project and what kinds of mitigations we would be placing on the traffic and transportation. The SB 292 requirements state that 1 year after the stadium is up and running, that planning and DOT will look at are those working? And if they're not working, we can go back and add additional conditions to try to get to that requirement in the bill that they meet 90% of the trips of the best stadium in the NFL for transit usage. So each year for 5 years after the stadium is analyzed, we'll be working to go back, look at how many people are coming to the stadium. If they're meeting that goal, we don't need to do anything. If they're not meeting that goal, then we will add additional conditions to try to meet that goal.
So when we went through this analysis, how many intersections or how far out on F-level intersections did this go? And can you tell us geographically and numerically?
Let's see. The traffic study looked at 187 intersections and 45 freeway ramps were studied, and 7 different traffic scenarios and 6 different time periods were looked at. Let's see. I think in the handout that we gave to the committee, it should show you
This here?
that, but I don't think that that's the exhibit I was looking for. I'm not sure if it got in here. And it doesn't, I didn't see it in there. The intersections looked at, the 187 intersections, went to the west to Alvarado, roughly. They went to the north, pretty much to the 101 freeway. They went south of the 10 freeway, and to the east, I believe Alameda, but I would have to look at specifically for that.
This past weekend when we had the confluence of so many events, what did you learn in terms of traffic flow and use of public transportation?
The planning department has not heard of specific numbers, but anecdotally, we did not also hear of any traffic tie-ups or severe problems with that weekend when we had the Kings, the Lakers, and the Amgen bicycle tour coming downtown. The moving the groups in and out for the various games and the time span between the events seemed to work smoothly. We, again, anecdotally didn't hear of any complaints, and we can check with LADOT to see if they heard of any. And that's one thing, too, that the draft DIR looked at. It looked at different types of events happening at the convention center and at Nokia when the NFL stadium is not in use, because the convention center sometimes on its own has huge events. So there were a range of different scenarios that were included and time periods that showed that it should work with these mitigations.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the pedestrian connections, and I think it'd be very helpful to see this campus connected to Pico Union, to South LA, to north, and so I'd like a better understanding for the community, to the people here listening and those listening, what sort of walking environment is going to be provided by this project.
Okay. At this point with the draft DIR, draft DIR does not really get into the walking environment. However, aside from that, we are currently working with LA Fire and LAPD on the pedestrian flows from the football field when an event is ending and or beginning, and how that impacts people just going through the neighborhood. We're looking at what will be appropriate sidewalk paving materials, street furniture, types of planting materials, a single row of trees, a double row of trees, the types of things that enhance the sidewalk width, the types of things that enhance the public experience when they're walking. The EIR itself just looks at what are the flows that are expected as people go to the different transit stations at 7th and Fig and at Pico. But we are continuing as well with the Mayor's Executive Directive to work with all of the agencies, Bureau of Engineering, LA Police, LA Fire, and DOT, and our partners at MTA for enhancing the pedestrian experience through the Pico Passage, through the freeway to Pico Union, and also we are looking at how that ties in with moving people, what those sidewalks will look like, moving people down Figueroa who may want to utilize the station on Washington instead of at Pico, and how to better enhance the experience moving north. But that's something that we'll get probably more input in when we go out through the municipal code required public hearings. When we go out with that, we'll have a further refined draft of the specific plan that people can look at and comment on. You know, does this sidewalk need to be wider? You know, what needs to happen on this sidewalk to get me to my community?
Okay, quick question, and I don't know if you're the best person to report on this, but can you make an oral report on the status of the community benefits discussions?
I'm actually probably not the best person to talk to about that at this time.
Everybody else can speak about it too.
It's very early. This project will have a development agreement, and we're currently working with the applicant to have a submittal on their first round proposals of what will be included in that, and then we'll begin talks with the council offices once we see that baseline as to what types of benefits need to be included in the development agreement. But there is a separate benefits that will be provided that planning won't be involved with aside from the development agreement.
Okay, why don't we start down there with Mr. Rosendahl and just go across the road here.
Good morning, and thank you.
Morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just some basic questions, and I have just now signed a letter and submitted it to AEG, a series of questions that bring in all aspects of what I want to know answers to in writing, and you'll all get copies of that letter in a couple of seconds. It's being printed right now. But did you read the LA Times stories about the concerns expressed by the NRDC, the Legal Aid Foundation, and LA Con? Or did you read the NRDC's letter expressing those concerns?
John Foreman, City Planning. I did see the LA Times article this weekend, and in addition, we did receive their comment letter on the draft DIR. We received about 172.
Yeah, I think we received 173 comments on the draft DIR during the comment period, and we're formulating the responses to all of those right now.
So right now, where we're at in the process is the comment period is closed. We're reading those letters. Our EIR consultant, Matrix Environmental, is reading those letters, and probably in the next week or so, we'll be sitting down with them to look at all of the points that are raised in the letter, which is basically what the Times article was summarizing, and preparing the written response for the final EIR that will go through the points raised with with the answer. At this point, we don't want to provide any analysis in case, and put on the record something that, once we really get into the analysis, could change in the final.
No, I agree with that. What role does the Department of Planning have in investigating those concerns and making sure that these types of issues raised are vetted?
Our role is to prepare the final EIR, so we do have to go through and respond to every point. If it's a point that's appropriate for the planning department, then the final EIR will explain it. If there's something that requires further analysis or further study, additional traffic analysis, additional air quality, then that's provided for the final EIR. If it's something, if the point that's brought up is something outside of the CEQA scope, then that also gets a response. Usually that response is that that's for a decision later for the decision makers, and that discussion on that point should happen.
And in that
later.
same context, the SB 292, you're going to be looking at that. Has it met the DEIR and all that, and check it that way?
Yes.
And then who's the lead staffer on that? Are you the lead staffer on that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we just want to make sure we have it on the record and be clear about it. I have a lot more questions on other points, Madam Chair, but I just wanted to say on the record, I appreciate everything going on. I've taken a meeting with AEG. I've taken a meeting with both groups that I just mentioned in the letter, the NRDC and the LAFLA, and I've, met with LA CAN, too. I did my homework in that context, heard different points of views, and the one word I heard was there'd be potential mediation. I'm calling it process discussions, because the NDRC, they raised some serious questions about what happened in the piece of legislation and where we are, timeline and clarity, but everybody obviously is open to sitting down and answering those questions. That's why most of my stuff is in that official letter, but thank you.
If I may, John Foreman from Planning, I have a approximate number. I think we received 20 requests for mediation, and the mediation process is something that is unique to SB 292, and what that process is that groups like the one we're discussing and that was mentioned in the Times this weekend can request mediation at this point, and that's starting this week. As a matter of fact, these meetings between, again, the approximately 20 requests we had for mediation, and the applicant and our city attorney will be there. And so some of these issues may be resolved before they get to you.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of it has a timeline in it of the reality of how Measure R continues to move, how our mass transit all ties in, and all these other things to meet those incredible goals of 27% of the people on public transport. But we have to set up all the mechanisms and obviously move in that direction.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I know that a lot of key questions I have been asked by the Chair and Councilor Rosendahl. I wanted to focus on timeline and phasing, because we are speaking to issues that we say are in the preliminary process, they're still being digested, there's still analyzation that needs to occur. Could you just kind of give me a broad, and just for the sake of the audience, those that are listening, where we're at in the process now, and how many more times will we be able to meet in the future, so that there's not the sense of desperation that I didn't get this in, or I need to do this, or this is where they're at. Can you just give me a broad perspective on that?
Definitely. Again, John Foreman, City Planning. Right now, we are in the CEQA process, and the way that the City of Los Angeles has set up that process is we issue a draft DIR, we have a comment period, and in this case, we had a public hearing and an open house on the draft DIR, which, again, the City of Los Angeles does not typically do. So there's already been one city public hearing on this project already. And as Diana said, it was attended by about 300 people. It was held at the convention center, and it was in the evening, I think from 4 to 7. And now we're working on preparing the final EIR, and so the written comments that came in will be responded to, as I said, in writing in the final, as well as the testimony we received at that public hearing. After the final EIR is released, then we start the city's municipal code required hearing process, and that requires hearing with the Planning Commission. Most times that's delegated to a hearing officer, not every time. We're in discussions as to, since we've already had a public hearing on the draft DIR, as to the need for a public hearing, when that would take place prior to the commission meeting, but there is that other opportunity for that before the Planning Commission. After that, Planning Commission...
Just to be clear, I want to make sure I understood correctly. What your questioning is whether we need another public hearing at the commission, or is it required at the commission?
That's what we're just figuring out.
Trying to weigh that out.
Yeah.
So you might have a public hearing in Planning Commission, you might not.
Oh, no. We're definitely required to have the public hearing.
At the commission, correct?
Well, that's a public meeting.
Right.
Yes.
So you're speaking to another public hearing before that.
Correct.
That is what right now is in question.
Correct.
Okay.
And then after the commission action, then we forward that information to the city council, where city council subcommittee has a public hearing on the item, and
that's the land use committee.
correct.
Right.
And then after that, it goes to full city council.
Okay.
Right now, the timeline is, again, it will depend on how long it takes us to respond to the comments we received, and how much initial analysis has to take place to get the final EIR in good shape to be released. So we're anticipating the final EIR may be ready in July, later part of July. And then after that, we would start the public hearing process. So we're looking at August for the hearings on that.
I see. So August for the hearings on. Now in July, the council goes dark for I think a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I keep hearing that we have a urgency to hit certain timelines and goals as far as dates. Yet I know the planning department is where it's at with its staffing, and you guys probably have 5 other things you're doing. So given that juggling act, how comfortable is the planning staff in reaching those goals?
Goals are nice because it helps us. It helps us manage our priorities, and so as long as we know what an applicant is shooting for, it helps us adjust the resources to that need. It's difficult, and as I said at the beginning, staff for this and for other projects was willing to forgo Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and do what it took to get the work done. So and work on this and other projects. So we'll continue to try to meet that goal. We'll do our best.
First of all, thank you. Now, this, much of the staff in the city is going through that type of pressure, and the fact you're producing is, I'm very grateful for that as well. And like the chairman acknowledged before, perhaps not the best person to speak to the community benefits package, but in general, is there a conversation with yourself and the AG and those who are advocating for certain products and or items, commitments? Is there a dialogue between the three as you go through this process? Are you engaged in that dialogue?
Right now, where we're at is the planning department is still waiting to get this list from AEG as the base. The planning department also did reach out to 3 council offices that where the project is located and that are immediately adjacent to its boundaries, and we're told that we're probably a couple weeks away from having a meeting to find out what types of benefits they would like to see included.
I've never AG, they've been very responsive in terms of the issues we've raised as an office. I want to thank the chair for her advocacy as well throughout this whole experience, and my colleagues for the questions, because I believe it raises the level of clarity and transparency as to what needs to get done. And I'm hoping that we can continue forward in a way that allows for confidence and real results in terms of how we generate impacts, both for the benefit of the community and for the benefit of the project as well.
Yeah, I think we'll have a good base when we go out for the public hearing on the entitlements, and it's usually at that public hearing too where we start hearing from other people in the community who maybe aren't connected into an organization or a group, but people come to the public hearing and suggest other community benefits to include in the draft DIR, so that what eventually gets transmitted to the City Council is pretty robust, and we've heard a lot of opinions and voices, and even those that don't always have a chair at the table.
I'll stop here, Madam Chair. I do want to thank the staff again. I can't tell how much I appreciate your work. Being a former planning staff, I understand what you're going through. Maybe not at this intensity, but you are producing, and I thank you for that. Thank you for the sacrifices.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Levine.
Thank you very much. A very important process. I do want to thank the planning department and all those in the city administration who are focusing on this. You look back, and I think you have the historic preservation group in there. If you could look back at the history of the city, there's certain times when certain things took place that dramatically turned Los Angeles. First and foremost was in the 1920s at Exposition Park, where they created and then expanded the Coliseum, then Dodger Stadium at that time, and then Staples Center, the Lakers coming from Inglewood. It has a distinct change in the direction of the city. This is a great opportunity with great challenges. If you could say that the freeway, the actual freeway, is at the microphone to your left, okay, and Figueroa is the microphone to your right. How tight is that location for the stadium? And you could be descriptive. Is there going to be 50 feet, 100 feet from the freeway, or I'm just trying to visualize this.
John Foreman, Planning Department. Between the stadium and the freeway, I can't tell you off the top of my head how far in feet that is, but there is a street that's at least 100 feet or
a full street will be on the west side.
Right, and a parking structure.
Oh, very good. Okay, that's good. That's nice to know. I wanted to also say, too, as you do this work, something's real important. You must create substations for the local police and fire. Just recently, a Saturday, we dedicated a new fire station on Hollywood Boulevard at Van Ness, and it's large enough to have capacity during high use times, which Hollywood has the traffic congestion, which is part of our life, to move resources to that location. So in the interior of the greater LA Live, Farmers Field, Convention Center complex, there should be some substation where actual paramedic rigs or fire apparatus should be there, as well as the police department. Police department does have a substation at Expo Park. Have you been to the Coliseum?
Not recently.
Well, tell me when the last time you've been to the Coliseum. It's a tough one, man. Last century? Last century?
No, actually, the last time I was by the Coliseum was when I went to the LA Times Book Festival at
USC. I got it. And I'm just saying, if you can, as planners, go to these stadiums in the fall. Go to the Rose Bowl, and if you really can, and we should find a way, committee, to send them to San Diego, which does use transit. Up to 30,000 people take but it's a heavier rail than the one that we have there. That's the key. The challenge I have with our light rail, it is light rail. Longer platforms, you got to need stronger cars to carry heavier weights of people. So have you been over to MTA?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good. So I think that's real key to do that. And the other thing is the elevated transit way along the 110 freeway, which stops at Adams. Mm-hmm. Now, I know it's a state highway, but do you have any vision for that could help this and other parts of downtown? And what does Caltrans have plans for that? That stops right there. If you could look at that as well. And all that is taking place there. So I covered all that I wanted to ask what was going on. And also neighborhood protection plans, which are real important. Everybody talks about the Hollywood Bowl and their transit. They park those buses in the street. Why they're in the street is because the neighborhood previously and wrongfully rejected a subway stop there. The subway stop at the Hollywood Bowl would have alleviated a lot of things that connect the city. Now we have to feed it. Also, the MTA supports through the 5 supervisors all those buses that come from Lakewood, from San Dimas, from Santa Clarita, Long Beach, and what others. So it would be due. And also, I think you got to go out a little bit, like out to maybe Arlington or Normandy. people will jump off the freeway to find their way to the stadium. You got to figure out either create a massive off-ramps downtown that could accept the flow. I like what you do at 17th and 18th Street from what I've read, and looking the parallel to the 110. But it's truly an important moment for you as planners to be able to recommend to us what could work. And I hope we could get you around at least to see how people move. Tailgating is an issue with sports, and the Coliseum has the benefit of Exposition Park. I don't know how we'll do with it. And then another thing, too, which is a conflict I just thought of, and I don't know if anybody here, but there's a difference now between Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football used to be the primary game, but it's moved to Sunday night, so that maybe there's a restriction on Monday Night Football, that we only have Sunday Night Football, because it would have an impact on the business flow on that. What kind of offense you want to see run, John? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labanja. I think Mr. Reyes had a couple more questions before we go to the cards.
I appreciate that. And this is more specific to one of your pages on traffic transit. It's not numbered, but it says new streetscape standards, both CEC specific plan. Now, just for the sake of clarity here, is this folding in the issues I raised when I had questions for Public Works and planning, when we looked at the impact of the boundaries of the project, and I was concerned what was happening on the other side of the freeway? This is pertaining to that concern?
Somewhat, in that we have the downtown streetscape standards, and we're within the boundaries of their specific plan that's being proposed for this site that's under our control. It would define what the streetscape plan is going to be to comply with the downtown streetscape plan, and it will look at the connections in all directions, going into South Park and north to the financial district, but also into the connection down to Washington. And, you know, if you've ever walked down to Washington and under the freeway, and, you know, it needs a lot of work, and
That's my district, I know.
And it's already, you know, we're looking at developing Figueroa and that walkable corridor, but this also will be looking at making sure that the connections to the west.
Well, I know that there's a clash because right over the freeway, it's mostly zoned industrial.
Mm-hmm.
You've got heavy industrial use designations along the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
And so the activity you see there is directly related to that type of use.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have an entertainment center. So the direct conflict in land use from my point of view. So when we speak to transition over time, and you look at how that area could evolve so that we start actually accepting the fact that that part of the city is also connected to the Staples Center, to LA Live. I want to be very clear that what you're saying is that the boundary of impact will include the other side of the freeway. I just want to be very clear about that.
We'll be looking at that, and at this point, that's something more that will be looked at in the development agreement, because the specific plan has boundaries where the regulations in the specific plan will apply to per that ordinance. And with the development agreement, that's where we can put in the areas that are outside of the boundaries. So we can put that type of a requirement cost into the development agreement. We can also, I think what you're raising is a good point, and the development agreement could also provide monies for studying the community plan, the Westlake plan, and updating it or doing some sort of limited update of those land uses immediately to the west and
Right.
see.
Just from an institutional point of view, I think it's healthy for everyone to begin to understand that that part of the freeway should benefit as much as any other part of the city when it comes to these kinds of infusion of investment. And what we're seeking is a process and a methodology that helps enhance the entertainment center by creating upgrades and desirability for all the different markets that could attend and or benefit from this experience. But currently it stands at a industrial use, and I'm not suggesting a taking, but I'm talking about in the process allowing the community, and AG has been very responsive to this, allowing the community to be part of that discussion and how we work this from the ground up. I think inclusivity is important. There's that educational process that needs to occur, and perhaps the property owners and those related could understand a greater benefit over time. I'm not saying it has to happen overnight, but we need to start reshaping the behavior of that area in its context, in its land use pattern, and also in its potential for future improvements, because we have enhanced desirability. So that's why I'm going to keep asking, where's Public Works on this? Where's planning? We can look at the public right-of-ways. If we just start with the public right-of-ways, that gives a different signal to the private owner that they are not being ignored, that there is a connection between the improvement on one side of the freeway and potential improvement on the other. So I want to strengthen that link and not be an afterthought.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well,
Madam Chair, just one comment about that, because I'm right with my colleague on that. The neighborhood protection plans, do you see coming out of this process where, every neighborhood would be considered, what communities surrounding the projects and interacting with them and getting them on the record on this discussion?
Again, John Foreman, Planning. Yes, as we, again, right now, we're focused on the CEQA process, and when we have the public hearing process on the entitlements, the request for specific plan and general plan amendment, that's where we'll start to begin hearing the testimony, what the communities are asking for as far as neighborhood protection. And there's typically a condition required in the approval for entitlements of development of neighborhood protection plans, which are then approved by the city and have to be provided before there can be clearance to get the building permits.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, why don't we go to the cards? I think we have 4 chairs up there, so I'm going to call 4 people up at a time. And again, anybody wishing to speak, please make sure you fill out a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk here on the end of the dais or whatever. Jessica Duboff, Stuart Waldman, Kevin Bass, and David Pettit.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Duboff. I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. I would like to thank the city planning staff and AEG for producing a thorough draft environmental impact report. What we read indicated the document fulfilled its purpose, which was to identify potential issues and offer a mitigation plan that addresses these problems. In total, the report identifies more than 170 mitigation measures that will reduce or eliminate project impacts. The chamber offices are located downtown, so we were very interested in 2 issues, traffic and parking. The analysis of 180 intersections and 45 freeway ramps exceeded our expectations and indicated that this document did not whitewash the traffic and parking concerns of Farmers Field patrons, convention center attendees, residents, and employees in the downtown area. Of particular importance is the emphasis on reducing the number of auto trips to Farmers Field and the commitment of $10 million to improve the Blue Line station at Pico. New streetscapes and inclusion of bike and pedestrian-friendly designs will serve to facilitate a better environment for our residents, employees, and visitors to live, work, and play. Finally, this project will continue the economic resurgence of downtown Los Angeles and offers great synergy with the existing entertainment industry in Los Angeles County. Businesses throughout the region will benefit from this project, and it will generate new tax revenue for the city, the county, and the state. We applaud the thoroughness of this report, the mitigation measures outlined, and look forward to further details. Thank you.
All right. Good. Stuart Waldman.
Hi, good morning. Stuart Waldman. I'm president of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA, representing over 374 members We've created over 100,000 jobs in the Los Angeles area. Whenever a project of this size and scope is proposed, there's a natural concern about the impacts. I want to thank the city and the developer who worked together at the highest level of commitment. The developer is further committed to make Farmers Field the most environmentally friendly stadium in the country by reducing to zero the net emissions of greenhouse gases from private automobile trips to the event center, developing additional measures to reduce the number of auto trips to Farmers Field so that it is the best in the nation, designing the project so that it achieves LEED certification when complete. These measures, combined with design features such as a comprehensive streetscape plan that is pedestrian and bike-friendly, will further advance the development of a community where individuals can live, work, and play. New revenue generated for the city, county, and state will further support important public services. Lastly, the project's ability to achieve the stated project objectives in the draft EIR will play a critical role in the continued economic revitalization of the region. We support the development of Farmers Field serving as a catalyst for economic revitalization. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Bass.
Hello, my name is Kevin Bass. I'm the Assistant Political Director for the Painters and Allied Trades. We're very happy the way this has moved forward and the progress has been made on this draft EIR, and we're fully in support of the project. We've been very happy working with AEG in the past, as they've shown themselves to be a good partner for labor, such as ourselves and the community. And my craft represents actually five trades that would be impacted by this project, four in the construction field, and our fifth trade, which is exhibit and sign craft, supports and sustains the convention center. So we have a very deep vested interest in this. And AEG has proven themselves to be not only a good partner, as I said before, but also a good community partner. Look at the work they've done with Pico Union. They've taken big mitigation steps here to, let's just say, nullify any perceived negative impact from this project. And if there's any other doubt, I think we could look at the project that they're doing tomorrow, the beautification project at Figueroa Street School. So again, we're in support of the project and would like to see it move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go on to Mr. Pettit, I'd like to call up Rachel Torres, General Jeff, and Rachel Bylin, David Pettit.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chairman. David Pettit from the Natural Resources Defense Council. NRDC supports this project. We support this project, and we support it as it was promised to the people of California. And what that means to us, and we've submitted a lengthy comment letter on this, is that we need to see compliance with SB 292, with CEQA, and with the promises made by AEG to the Clinton Global Initiative. In particular, our concerns focus around transit and how much public transit there will really be and how that's enforceable, carbon neutrality and how that's going to be enforceable, and sustainability. Will this really be the greenest stadium in the country, and how do we know that will be the case? We have requested mediation on those topics. Mediation is going to start, as I understand it, next week. We have 3 full days sketched out for that. I am confident that we can work out these problems in a timely way without delaying the start of construction at the stadium, and we can again have football back here in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Rachel, General Jeff, Rachel, and let's see. Oh, Priscilla Chang. Is Priscilla Chang still here? Come on up. Okay. First.
Good morning.
Rachel Torres.
Hi, my name is Rachel Torres. I'm a research analyst for Unite Here Local 11. On behalf of the 20,000 members of Unite Here, we wish to express again our strong support. And we're very impressed by the process and the way that things have gone so far throughout this experience. You know, this is the third public hearing that we've had at this stage. And many of the community has been invited, and there's been great attendance at all of these hearings. We've attended some of the community benefit meetings and are in full support of strong local hiring, job training. Many of our members live in the Pico Union area, Westlake, South Los Angeles, and we're seeing not just the benefits there, but also a slew of new development in downtown Los Angeles, in Districts 9 and Districts 14, and we're very excited about that. So we, again, wish to express our strong support and this process moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Fraze has a question for you.
Ms. Torres, when we speak of beneficiaries that are under the union umbrella,
Yeah.
and you referred to individuals, not that I want it by address, but can you perhaps produce a map that speaks to where these beneficiaries live, the concentration of individuals that live in different neighborhoods?
Sure.
I think through the process, it's important to, I mean, we speak of it, but it's important when you can see it.
Definitely.
We can plot out where these beneficiaries live from your point of view, given that you have that connectivity to your membership.
We can do that. We can submit something to your office indicating different addresses of where our members live.
I'm talking about the LA area.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. General Jeff.
Good morning. My name is General Jeff, representing the Skid Row community for the, I represent the Board of Directors for the I'm on the Board of Directors for the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. I'm in support of this project for various reasons. With all the reports that America is one of the most obese countries in the planet, I think that this project, the fact that it promotes public transportation and public uses, traveling to and from the venue, I think that's a wonderful opportunity to promote healthier lifestyles. And we're talking about walking, biking, subways, and light rail and other additional transportation options that are coming on the pipeline. That's very important. Also, we're in support because of the jobs that will be created, both in construction and also full and part-time employment under the local hiring ordinances. We're definitely excited for this project, and we think that this is an exciting time for Los Angeles.
I'm already in the card. I'm telling them to hang out. Rachel Byland?
Yes. Hi, I just had a general comment. I manage Farmscape for an urban farming company. And I saw some preliminary designs for the project, and there was turf grass outside of the stadium, and I think that we should, if we're talking about environmental impacts, using turf grass in Los Angeles is not helping. So if we can use drought-tolerant natives, and also making our urban spaces more human by adding community projects, such as gardens, edible gardens, kids stuff, I don't know. But just making our urban spaces more human, and we have a real opportunity here to create a space for the community. And I think more so than even LA Live, that is kind of just concrete, and it's a fun place to hang out, but you can definitely have an opportunity to have a community space. Thank you.
Okay, Priscilla, before you speak, I'm going to call up Charisse Vermond. Oh, she did? Oh, gosh. Okay, Earl Skip Cooper, Carlos Ardon, and Zahira Mann. Okay, Priscilla.
Good morning. My name is Priscilla Chang, and I'm the Economic Development Director for the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. I represent hundreds and thousands of working men and women in Los Angeles and throughout the communities, also surrounding the proposed project. Just wanted to thank City of Los Angeles and the hardworking staff for their time and commitment to this entire process. This project will create over 23,000 good middle-class jobs in a time when our communities need it the most. This project means that over 12,000 construction workers will have a shot at a good middle-class job. This project creates significant economic development in downtown and surrounding regions, and we are very, very proud to support it. On behalf of the hundreds and thousands of unemployed workers in Los Angeles, we strongly urge the city to move quickly, get the EIR completed, and get Angelenos back to work again.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I asked Ms. Torres, who represents another union umbrella, would you be under the same umbrella? Would you be able to share the data? Would it be repetitive numbers in terms of beneficiaries that you see that would occur because of this project?
Yeah, we'll work with Unite Here Local 11 as well as the other folks who will be impacted by the project and trying to figure out maybe a mapping of existing and future workforce.
That would be great. We'd love to see where the workers are living.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cooper.
Good morning. My name is Skip Cooper, representing the Black Business Association headquartered in Los Angeles, the oldest ethnic business organization in the state of California. And we support the project 100%. We recognize that it's going to help small and minority business enterprise in the greater Los Angeles area, but also it's going to create jobs. It's going to create stronger tax base. It's going to create jobs for the future, business opportunities in the future. And we recognize AEG as a strong community and corporate partner for the city of Los Angeles. And right now, we recognize them as the strongest corporate partner in Los Angeles. So we feel that this is going to be a project that's going to enhance the city of Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, and just make Los Angeles a much better environment, not only to live in, but to work in.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ardon?
Yes, good morning, council members. Carlos Ardon, working with the Public Immigrant Policies Institute of Los Angeles. I have been working in the Pico Western Union community for over 25 years now, and right now we're working with vendors. I see this opportunity of having some of the local vendors, street vendors, be part of this project. We would like to see this project go, get your full support. I was at the event two Sundays ago, and remember the media was doing a lot of talking about the three events going on the downtown LA, and I see how this organization put together an amazing work. I mean, not having nobody. I mean, not having this traffic mass that we're seeing in Los Angeles. So we fully support. We know that this is an economic opportunity, not only for workers, not only for the immigrant community, but also for the street vendors that we represent, and also for the Pico and Westlake communities. Also here, there are some members of the Westlake and Pico Union communities that they will hope that they will talk on behalf of this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Zahira Mann?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Zahira Mann. I'm an attorney with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. We represent the coalition Playfair at Farmers Field, which is concerned with environmental and community health in the area surrounding the proposed project. We believe the EIR is deficient in a number of ways, including the analysis with respect to land use, transportation, noise, air quality and climate change, public services, aesthetics, housing, and alternatives. Likewise, many of the mitigation measures described in the draft EIR are inadequate, unenforceable, or improperly deferred until after close of the environmental review process. We will be engaged in the mediation process, and we hope that this process will result in substantive changes and improvements. One of the issues that we've raised time and time again throughout this process and will continue to raise is that we should have neighborhood protection plans for Pico Union, downtown, specifically South Park, and the area of South Los Angeles adjacent to the project. These plans would help to protect the surrounding neighborhoods from traffic and parking impacts of the area. In doing so, we can focus traffic in a more deliberate manner, increase the experience of those coming into downtown Los Angeles, maintain livability for downtown Los Angeles, and ultimately protect the investment the city is making in this area. Finally, earlier today we were discussing the amount of time provided for review of the draft environmental impact report for this project. It was 45 days for a rather lengthy document. If you compare it to other documents, for example, the EIR that was produced for the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment District, which the actual text of that EIR was a little bit over 500 pages. Here, the actual text of the EIR, the appendices are quite extensive, but the actual text is over 1,700 pages, but still 45 days was provided for both documents. With the proposed project, we have SB 292 to account for, and SB 292, the legislature made a specific balance to expedite judicial review while protecting the environment and the right of the public to review and comment on the EIR. To respect and live up to the objectives of SB 292, we needed additional time to comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next four speakers: Ann Williams, David Menchaca, Irene Lewis, Doug Wilson.
Good morning. I'm Ann Williams with the Central City Association. Central City Association, along with our sister organization, the Downtown Center Business Improvement District, has helped to steer and fuel the incredible renaissance of downtown Los Angeles over the past decade, starting with the opening of Staples Center in 1999. Echoing my colleagues at VICA and the Chamber, we strongly support the development of Farmers Field, and we feel confident about the analysis in the environmental impact report. When AEG proposed building the Staples Center a decade ago, we heard a lot of concern about how such an event venue would only exacerbate the traffic downtown. But today we all know that downtown is the hub of our regional transportation system, and that's why the stadium proposal works so well in downtown, because the transportation infrastructure is already here and it provides every possible option for getting here. Downtown has a huge capacity to absorb a massive amount of people. There are nearly 500,000 employees working in greater downtown and over 50,000 residents. Not only does downtown have the capacity, it has the experience, because we host huge events all the time. We think if there's any place to build a new stadium and event center, it's here. And if there was ever a time to move forward with this project, it's now. Los Angeles, with its double-digit unemployment rate, desperately needs this catalytic project. Thank you.
David Menchaca.
Good morning. My name is David Menchaca, and I'm with United Way of Greater Los Angeles. We stand in full support of this project. At a time when the county, the city, and the state are facing unprecedented economic challenges, we need this project to get people back to work. We need this project to inject new streams of revenue into our economy. And we need this project because it provides job opportunities to people that are currently unemployed and to our young people that are looking to a future and looking for jobs and will need employment. This is a pivotal time for Los Angeles, and that with the high rates of unemployment, there are very few opportunities and projects of this magnitude that could really redirect our economy. AEG has done a tremendous job, we believe, in providing this environmental impact report. We're very pleased to hear that there's going to be mitigation to discuss a lot of the details. And beyond all that, this is a great opportunity to unite our city. Right now, there's another AEG-owned entity, the Los Angeles Kings, that have done a tremendous job in uniting our city. They have brought people together from all over this county in an unprecedented manner, and it has just raised tremendously the amount of pride and city, pride that we feel towards Los Angeles. Not only that, it's driven an incredible amount of economic activity. I was in a couple of our sporting goods stores over the weekend, and LA King gear is flying off the shelves. I mean, it's hard to find LA King gear anywhere in this town. And to me, that's just one example of what can happen when we can get a football team here that could provide the same type of economic activity. So with that, I say go Kings go, and let's get this project going. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, before I go on, Jesse, come on up, and then Rocky Pelicano, come on up, and that marks the end of our speaker cards. Next speaker is Irene Lewis, followed by Doug Wilson, and then we'll go to Jesse Marquez and Rocky Pelicano.
Irene Lewis, Director of the Salvation Army Red Shield Youth and Community Center. In Pico Union, we're located 4 blocks west of the Staples Center. I have been in that community for over 22 years, and the Red Shield has been serving the community for over 62 years. I am very grateful for the EIR report, draft report that was done, very comprehensive. I think one of the issues that has been very clearly expressed by our community is the issue of traffic and parking. And I do have to say that we have been in the process of meeting with folks and have kind of been the catalyst in funneling the information to the community and also encouraging them to give their concerns in writing. We've had several meetings with our excellent field staff from our city council office who have taken that information on and taken it to the powers that be. I will tell you that the best prediction of future behavior is past behavior, and I will tell you that AEG in the development of the Staples Center and LA Live have been wonderfully good neighbors to the community. They have brought improvement to the community, not only to our community center, but to many other nonprofits, and especially to 10th Street Elementary School, which is within walking distance of the proposed stadium. and have improved their academic support to the children by providing reading programs, and I've seen it firsthand because we offer tutoring center at our facility, and we've seen the improvement. But I will tell you that this draft environmental impact report is very comprehensive, and the thing that really impresses me the most is the fact that it is listening to the voice of the community, and that every voice that is spoken, every word that is spoken is listened to, and the issues will be addressed, and I do want to say I'm very thankful for that.
Mr. Reyes has a question for you.
My name is, it's not so much a question, but I probably rarely get an opportunity to say this publicly, but I want to do this, and that is to thank you. Seeing you work over 20 years in the neighborhoods of Pico Union and Westlake and throughout that whole area has been amazing. I just want to congratulate you for your hard work, because you're one of the unsung heroes. And I know we've been there before the riots, after the riots, and ever since then. And to see the tremendous change in the area because of your hard work, I just want to publicly thank you for that.
And it happens because of partnerships, too. We have good neighbors.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, and then Mr. Marquez, and then Mr. Pelicano.
Doug Wilson, Plumbers Local 78. First of all, I want to thank everyone on their hard work on getting the CIR going. On behalf of our 35 to 40% unemployment, we definitely need these jobs. We need to get people back to work, need them to be able to save their homes, to put food on their plates for their families. It's imperative that we get back to work. Again, Local 78, the plumbers support this thing, and we'd like to see this thing move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Marquez.
On behalf of the 7 organizations that signed our public comments, our membership is approximately 5,000 members, both LA area and LA residents. We oppose the project. We have polled our membership, and everyone thinks it's insane to build a Coliseum, a stadium, in the middle of downtown. We do support the LA Coliseum as being the best location where to put a new football stadium. We also requested a 120-day extension for the public comment period. As you've heard others speak before us, it's insane. You cannot read 10,000. There are 4 other City of LA projects that have granted 120-day public comment period. Also, CEQA law is very clear. You will, in an EIR, identify all direct and all indirect negative impacts. Everything that's been done has been centered on downtown LA and a specific project area. However, millions of football caps, jerseys, T-shirts, banners, and flags will be purchased and sold. Millions of plates, spoons, forks, napkins, etc. will be purchased and used. Hundreds of thousands of cleaning supplies will also be used. These will be purchased in China and other foreign countries. They will arrive on polluting ships at the Port of LA and the Port of Long Beach. They'll be transported by diesel polluting trains and diesel fuel polluting trucks, which means my community of Wilmington and all the communities we represent in the harbor will be impacted by this. And there are no assessments of those. You also reference different plans. CEQA requires that plans be included in the EIR, not a future promise it's going to be done right. Traditionally, all of LA plans we've ever reviewed, none of them were done correct and proper. The same attorneys advising you now are the same attorneys that advised you 10 years ago on the China shipping terminal project that said it was fine not to even write an EIR, so LA did not, and therefore you lost in court. In the trade pack container expansion project, your attorneys advised you it was fine and it was not. So we're now asking you, please review our comments, and we expect them to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pelicano.
Good morning. Thank you. Rocky Pellicino, labor leader for the last 19 years in the great Los Angeles area. And I must say I'm also party to the Los Angeles Orange County Building Trades, which we represent some 140,000 people. Just on a personal note, I had the great privilege of going up to the state capitol last summer with a great number of people who are in this room today to lobby for SB 292. And I must say is that it was a privilege and an honor for myself to meet a lot of our elected officials for the first time ever, to sit across the desk from them and to introduce a project like this. And well over 90% of them all nodded their head yes in favor. There was a chosen few who were opposed to it, but that's all right. There's nothing wrong with opposition, like this gentleman that just left the table. But you know what, at the end of the day, I must say that this is a miracle. We're basically living a dream right now. And when I say by a miracle, what I truly believe is that when we look back, and I reflect back as a young man in sports when I saw the gold medal that was won by the U.S. hockey team when the when they won that gold medal, as we remember that, or the great Kurt Gibson home run when he limped up to the plate at Dodger Stadium. These are all miracles. The three-peat of the Los Angeles Lakers, it's a miracle. And of course, today it's a miracle with the Los Angeles Clippers that made the playoffs. And then I must say is that the miracle will come true this week when our Los Angeles Kings will win the Stanley Cup. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep this dream alive. Let's keep the miracle moving forward. We must say is that it's also a miracle when private entity wants to open up their checkbook and spend well over $2 billion to this great city of ours. And I must say, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you will bring a lot of smiles to many of people in the great Los Angeles area to make this thing a reality. And also in closing, I know there's some AG people in here, just maybe our next football team will be named the Los Angeles Miracles. Thank you.
All right, well, on that very upbeat note, we don't have any other further speaker cards, so I thank everyone today for their attendance and their participation. And the meeting, before I adjourn, we can take public comment for those who do not fill out a speaker card and wish to make a comment for an item that is not on the agenda. Going once, going twice. Seeing that no one is coming forward, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.